Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another Neurodiversity Stories with your host. My name is Darren Clark, and we are back again. We do this every single Friday at 11 o'clock to spread more awareness around neurodiversity. And we have had some incredible guests, and we have another incredible, truly inspirational lady joining us today. And I want to give you guys, I want you guys to give Beatrice a massive warm welcome. I'm going to be introducing her very, very shortly. I just want to say, why are we here and why are we creating this neurodiversity stories? So I found out I was dyslexic and had ADHD at the age of 36, 37, around that time. And I've been on a mission ever since to spread more awareness around dyslexia, but more importantly around neurodiversity. And one of the things that I wanted to create was this channel to speak to all the other people that are experiencing neurodiversity. And that's what we created. So we created Neurodiversity Stories. So we are looking for more and more guests to join this. And like I said, we put this out every single Friday at 11 o'clock. I'd also want to say a massive thank you as well to our sponsors, which are Scanning Pens. And check this out. So guys, Scanning Pens are our sponsors for our Neurodiversity Stories. If you've not heard of Scanning Pens, their story is very, very, very simple. They were created to empower people of all ages, backgrounds and learning abilities with the tools they need to succeed in the classroom and the real world. So please do check them out. They are sponsors, and we thank them massively to help us out with this channel. So without further ado, guys, I'd also like if you could just tell us where you're tuning in from. That would be great, and just literally just say hi. Again, it's amazing. We broadcast this out. We reach as far as Australia and America, and Kenya, so and obviously the UK as well. So it'd be amazing if you just let us know where you're tuning in from. That would be great. So guys, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my next guest. And it's Beatrice Freeman, and the title that she wants to talk about is Difference and Highly Valuable, the Autism Spectrum. Now, Beatrice will share her own experiences and own conclusions and advice on how to work with us and how the autism spectrum hasn't got a clear, defined picture. So, guys, I want to get you to give a massive warm welcome, maybe show it a little emoji love, and welcome, Beatrice. Beatrice, good morning. How are you? Oh, no problem. We've unmuted that. Beatrice, we'll start again. Good morning, Beatrice. How are you this morning, apart from being muted?
Well, it's the way to start things nowadays. You're on mute. Yeah, we've done it well.
I think sometimes it's kind of, if you start it off this, maybe, something, it gets people to pay a little of attention, and you'll know that being, the renowned speaker that you are. So Beatrice, I want to say a massive thank you for taking the time with us today, and it's incredible to have you on here. Beatrice, I know but snippets of your story. I know snippets about kind of what you've done and the incredible things that you've achieved. But if you could just if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you, that'd be great.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Beatrice Freeman. I am a person of many careers, and I think if I had to sum it up, I would say I'm a communicator, which is very strange for an autistic person, but I've worked extra hard to be able to do this, and I think that's what makes me valuable, because I'm able to communicate the things that others can't do equally well. I've worked as a stand-up comedian for corporate events. Clean comedian, before you say it, no politics, no sex, no brands, no offense. I have written a book, Introverts Make Better Networkers. I've worked as a professional networker for 10 years now. And won a few awards for after dinner speaking, and in a speaker club called Toastmasters, quite high up. Just well, it's quite strange for an autistic person to actually go and compete, which I find most difficult thing out of all. But most of all, I've been trying to help others understand others. I seem to have the skill to connect with people and to explain how things are in a clear and accessible matter. I'm very happy to have this gift, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Bless you, Beatrice. No, the honor is all mine. Thank you so much, for that. If we come on to if we talk about, the topic is autism as kind of a whole, I know it's a huge topic, and I know we'll cover some aspects of that element. How, if you had to define autism, to yourself, what would that be? If you had to kind of explain autism?
I have spent a lot of time on this topic. I've been trying to understand it. I've done a lot of research, and I have read what's accessible to explain it also to myself, what it is that I suffer from. And I discovered, to my relief, that it is not a mental illness. And I think this is a major thing for all of us to understand when we see an autistic person. It's not a mental illness, it's a developmental disorder. It's the way that we grew up. And to explain it better, I was passing a tree the other day in my local park, taking exercise. Exercise, people, we need more exercise. And I saw this tree that was growing slightly askew, and I thought, but that's exactly how we are, autistic people. We are totally normal, but not quite as other people. So there was the tree was growing in a heavy wind place, and it has grown. It had the trunk. It had beautiful spring flowers. It is going to have lovely little apples. It was a crab apple tree. I know it. I'm a gardener, and it is just the difference that it is just doesn't look like other trees, and maybe if you want to approach it from the side that it is not as much as other trees, then you think, what is it? But I think the problem with autism is the confusion how to approach us.
Okay.
Because we are what the research says and what my experience says, it is we autistic people are more than have got IQ higher than average, and also sensitivity higher than average, which makes us very difficult to approach. Some people are afraid.
And have you experienced that, Beatrice? Have you experienced that where people have maybe in the sense that they didn't know about the autism, and then they knew about the autism, and then there was a maybe a different way that they reacted to you? But have you ever kind of experienced that? Not reacted in a bad way, but kind of, you talk upon how people not too sure, what to say or how to act in this, and it's not a terrible thing in any way, shape, or form. But have you experienced that where people have known that, or have you always been kind of open to everyone that you've met with that?
No, it's only in the recent years that I have been able to communicate this and to actually understand things about myself, because I have been confused. I have to say I've been confused. How can I be so intelligent and yet not be able to negotiate what people perceive as normal things without real effort? And from the other side of it, because I've worked as an opera singer and been on stage, professional stage, for 14 years or in all, and now 3 years as a comedian, I'm often asked, how can you be an introvert and quite high up on the autism spectrum if you are a performer? How is that possible?
Yeah. Sorry, please go on.
It has been quite confusing until actually 7 months ago. I was doing a keynote. I belong to a a speaker club which is called Toastmasters, and they have got a program which I completed. I was at level 5 and I had to present a keynote. And I thought I'd like to talk about something that's important to me and could be important to others. And then I thought I'll just speak about autism and my experience of it. And then I did the research and I put things together, and I realized how it is. I only, actually, Darren, you are a dyslexic person. I have to thank you. Thank you, all dyslexic people, for my observations and for me coming out, because it was you. It was you. I heard a presentation by a dyslexic person in my own club, and she inspired me to come out as who I am. It is just so eye-opening when people start talking about their own disabilities, and then you realize, oh, what if I spoke about mine? And this is how it started.
And you're absolutely right. And I know we spoke a few times around this element, and I guess because I think of my dyslexia and my ADHD is kind of back in the day, kind of a personal thing to me, as in maybe at the start a negative connotation, thinking what good would it do if people knew it probably the job I'm working at, probably there'll be maybe questions raised whether I'm able to do the job. And again, a lot of this is mind talk in those aspects, but we forget, by mentioning and telling stories and doing what you're doing and sharing more awareness, the actual good that you can do to help. And I guess we also we go to the area where we think it's going to be bad, but there are so many elements where sharing the story, sharing the lived experience can be incredibly rewarding and helpful, which you've done in droves.
It has been extremely rewarding. You're absolutely right. When I delivered the keynote, and it was only in August or in September last year, I felt naked. I think, is that your experience too, Darren? When you actually first said it to people,
you're telling it, yeah, literally, you're fully kind of exposed in the sense of your heart and soul's kind of there, and you're just kind of you're waiting for that acceptance and say, how are people going to react to this?
I was actually waiting for, really? Oh no, we don't want to know you. You are a strange person. Now that you said you're a strange person, we know you are a strange person. We don't know. But that was not the reaction. That was not the reaction at all. I was so surprised. After this keynote, I started getting emails and messages saying, Beatrice, we've got someone like that in our family. I've got a friend like this. And for years, I've been thinking how to understand them and how to be more inclusive. Now you told me what happens in your world, it is easier for me to understand. And thank you so much for doing this. So rather than what I was expecting, rather than to be labeled, you strange person, I got gratitude. And I've been overwhelmed ever since. It's just so wonderful. Wonderful.
Do you think it is that element, I guess, of secretly thinking that maybe we don't fit into a certain part in society, and we kind of long for that acceptance in those elements, and a lot of mind talk and the fear element of it, and then suddenly when you're able to kind of have that confidence to start talking about it, and you receive that welcoming kind of feedback, it's hard to take in. It's hard to take in from the start, because you talked yourself out of it for so long, and I guess I remember you telling me like you mentioned then about the emails and people contacting you afterwards. That's real life things happening, and that's life changing, and it's just a humbling thing to do, isn't it?
It is. And what you just said, I just realized, because I've been thinking about what it is that you say. What you just said, that we are afraid. Well, we are all afraid that other people are not accepting us. And having disabilities, I think, we think that it is the disability that people would not understand, and it is the disability that would make us not accepted. But everyone is afraid of something. Everyone is afraid of being judged, and everyone has got that thought somewhere at the back of their mind that maybe I'm not good enough. So it is not related to the disability at all, and that was my observation.
That's incredible. I'm desperate to talk to you about the opera element of your life. How did you get into that, Beatrice? Because I'm a massive fan of when I kind of talk about opera, classical music for me. Okay, classical is the pinnacle of relaxation, and it helps with my ADHD like nobody's business. I always say I don't leave the house without headphones, and whenever I'm working, I've got classical music on, and it just takes me to a different dimension, I guess. It really kind of is soothing. So, but how did you get into it? Did you always have a love of doing that? Was it a passion of yours? I'm just intrigued to how you got into it.
That's a very strange thing, actually, the opera thing in my life. No one ever expected I would want to be that or would become that, because there was no music in my childhood. I had what you call a terrible childhood, and I discovered music very late in life. And when I discovered it, I just went with it. As you say, it's soothing. It's just talks to your heart. And you don't have to consider any other things. You just listen to it and you feel better. So I started listening to classical music. And at one point, I listened to a sung performance. And I thought, oh, no, this is fantastic. This is so beautiful. I want to sing like this. But hold on, I have no musical education. So what am I going to do? And then I joined a choir. I joined a choir in Helsinki, a big university choir, and I didn't have to sing at all. That was the big thing of it. When you don't know if you can sing or you just love music, this was the best thing, because the choir had about 200 people, and they were so inclusive that they didn't test you. They just said, come along and sing with us. So I came along, and I probably for a few months, I just held the music and mouthed it next to people. And no one could hear me that I'm not doing it, because I was so afraid that I couldn't sing properly. And then with time, when I got the courage to sing, this terrible thing happened. A chorus master wanted to see me after the rehearsal. The chorus master came to me and he said, yes, I'd like to talk to you about your singing. I thought, this is the last day of my performance in the sky. And he said, you are much louder than other people, and you have what we call a soloist voice. And I would like you to take singing lessons, because we think you could be an opera soloist. And that, I could not believe it. I checked the date. Is it the 4th of April? Is it some elaborate joke of the university choir, secret society, that we're telling everyone who joins that they are going to be an opera singer? And then we laugh because we've got a secret recording. But no, I was actually the thing, and he helped me get training, and he took me to what they called an expert in voice, who ran a small opera company in Finland. And she said I had the voice of the generation, but it was much too late for me to have an opera career, because I should have started 10 years earlier.
Oh.
So that was
and you've been doing it ever since, and you have a real love and passion for it. It's incredible. I mean, we talk about fear and bravery and not feeling confident in those aspects, and in everyday life, but to kind of then go into to a choir thinking I can't sing is quite a brave thing to do. And then it turned out to be incredibly rewarding because you can.
It was sometimes the thing that we are afraid of go with other things that are quite easy to do. So in this case, I was a student, and there was the best social life was in the university choir. So there where I went, it required singing, and strangely, things have been happening in a very strange way in my life.
Which then takes me on to comedian, stand-up comedy. Now, people say that the fear of public speaking is one of the most fearful things. Apparently it's feared worse than death. I mean, I don't know if that's true, or I don't know how. I think the fear of death is pretty, is definitely up there as the fear. But the fear of public speaking is, as you teach people, you train people, you speak at events all across the world, and you've experienced that. But stand-up comedy, wow, that's I think to myself, that's the next level. That's really brave.
That is quite brave. It wasn't my intention. Everything in life I have just ended up doing in a very strange coincidence. It wasn't my intention. Because I had been speaking so much in my job, I worked as a marketer and networker for a cybersecurity company, innovation company, and I was speaking every day because I was explaining this invention in networking mainly, but also in conferences. Someone said, why don't you join the Professional Speaking Association? Because that's what you do. Effectively, you speak. And I thought, no, I'm not a speaker. But I was intrigued and I joined the association. And then I discovered they had a contest for new members, but I only had 3 days to prepare for the contest because it was the last available date of the year. And I thought, there is a contest. And throughout my opera career, my opera non-career, because I was too old to start with, and I sang on the smaller, what we call it, on a smaller circuit because of that. Throughout my opera life, I was wanting to have been in a competition because a competition opens doors, and big opera houses take people from competitions because that's where you prove you are able to perform under big pressure. So when I heard competition, I thought, oh, competition! I have wanted to do all my life. It is available. Oh no, it's only 3 days. 3 days. How can anyone prepare a after dinner speech in 3 days? And I decided to speak about my life in opera and all the unexpected things that happened in opera and put them together with the cybersecurity. They don't go together. That's going to be interesting. And then I just rolled it out. And to make it sure that I sang a little bit, and people stood there. And then they said, and Beatrice is the winner. What is it? What is it?
Wow.
That's how I started. I had the award, and I really hadn't been a comedian by then. I did not expect people to laugh throughout my story. I thought it was a very serious story of a person who can't cope with opera because it's invisible. The voice is invisible. Can't cope with cyber. That's invisible. And is blonde on top of it. I thought it was interesting, but they thought it was funny. So this is how I became a comedian.
Your stories just blow me away. It's almost, I went to the choir because I couldn't sing, and then I became this, and then I did this within 3 days. I think it's, so what drives you then, Beatrice? Do you know, I mean, it's a very open question, but what drives you?
I know what you mean, and I hope you now understand how I'm afraid to talk about myself, because all the things that happen to me are very strange, and then people think, this is a very strange person, we better avoid her. Oh, what's for dinner? So, but what drives me? I think it's actually the autistic nature that drives me. It is the need to give. I've spent a lot of time trying to define what it is that drives me, and it's not inner madness. All those people who dated me, it's not my inner madness, not madness. It is the thing that is common to all of us on the autism spectrum. We want to give, and we don't know how to give. And the need to give to other people, it's so enormous that it grows over time and it takes different forms. So in my case, it took the form of stand-up comedy and wanting to give some joy to people, some laughter, or being an opera singer. And I used to sing the roles that you mentioned about death. Yes, you said the death was the thing that we are afraid of most. Well, I used to sing the death roles. I am a death professional. And every time I would perform a death role, I would provide that experience, give that experience of feeling the death, really feeling that. And I have reduced so many people to tears. I'm really proud of that with my death on stage. Now I'm making it as if it is funny, but
no,
I think the need to give something very important is what drives me. And I've got so many gifts. I apologize to anyone who thinks I'm really big-headed. I am not really big-headed. I just have so many gifts. I don't know why I've been given them, but I think that because I am able to give them back to people. And being on the autism spectrum, I think what we deal with is that we want to give because we are more intelligent than average and we are more sensitive than average and we know what you need and we want to give it to you, but we don't really know how because of the things that we have to cope with. And I discovered how to give, and I'm just so happy.
Beatrice, and honestly, I would never pitch you as someone that says you're big-headed in any way, shape, or form. I truly think you inspire me, and you inspire so many people in the sense of, the fact that, I want to experience this. I want to do this. Can I do it? Yes, let's do it. And it's kind of, you're a shining example of that element. And, I thank you for sharing your gifts to the world. Beatrice, I want to kind of mention around the diagnosis element of autism. Were you formally diagnosed with autism, or and kind of what age were you looking at? The reason the reason I say this is because we just had Daniel, he's got diagnosed at 40 as being autistic, to show my son it's okay who got diagnosed at autistic at the age of 4, which is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. What kind of age was it that you kind of knew about it?
Very late, Darren. And I like this person who's saying this in her 40s, in his 40s, or in their 40s, because Daniel, yes. Very late, but in my case, it was because artists, so-called artists, well, opera singer is an artist. I'm quite afraid of saying I'm an artist because it sounds very big, doesn't it? But it's just a person who sings very loudly. That's what it is. And artists are not really considered autistic, are they? So it is not so obvious. If you are in an artistic profession, you're not really ordered to go and get tested. So it came very late. I have to say, though, there are two kinds of in my thinking, there are two kinds of autistic people: the artists and the scientists. And we seem to only see the mad scientists, don't we? We watch the Big Bang comedy series.
Bang Theory, yeah.
Yes, we've got the physicists there. They're all so autistic and so funny. And we used to, the nerds, to be autistic as we see them, the scientific people, but also artists. Also, artists are autistic, very focused, very in their own world, and quite afraid of doing things out of the comfort zone, quite lost in the neurotypical world. But it is not so obvious because we excel at what we do, and then you are focused on what we do well and not what we do not very well, and that's why it gets diagnosed quite late.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kind of what, so it was a later part, it wasn't kind of childhood that you knew about autism. Am I correct on that, Beatrice?
Yes. And I have, now that I know about it and I go back to all the things, it is so much easier then to understand and to forgive yourself for doing things not very well. Would you agree with that? Being dyslexic, you forgive yourself.
Absolutely. Do you know what, that was the the absolute biggest thing for me when I 36, 37, diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. It took it was a couple of weeks afterwards, those elements when I would think back where I failed at that promotion, or I struggled with the that business plan, or I struggled with this or something else and again, as we know, the way that the brain works, we don't know if it's real. So I would literally feel those feelings, and I learned to start forgiving myself, and for a lot of the things that I would struggle with from childhood, from early adulthood, but that forgiveness is it's like therapy in that aspect, that you kind of go through, because you put so much pressure on yourself, and then suddenly there's some sort of answer to some of the questions that you didn't even know that was there.
That's exactly it. You put so much pressure on yourself. So now that I look back at it, I'm thinking, poor thing, you just didn't know how to do this. You didn't know how to do this. It's not your fault. I'm looking at it, how much I've been beating myself up over the years. Didn't need to be done. It is very, very well what I have done, and the things I haven't done, well, no one is perfect. And that's one of the traits of autism, that we are perfectionists. We are perfectionists, and it's something is not absolutely perfect. We go into a meltdown. We go into a terrible, terrible meltdown. But that's a really, really small thing, but it's massive to an autistic person.
Is that the element? So I apologize for cutting you off. So when you, because I think about, with my dyslexia and ADHD, the hyper focus element, I can be working on something and forget to eat and drink and just be, kind of everything, the world around me kind of doesn't exist. It's kind of tunnel vision in that sense. When you say about being a perfectionist, is it similar to that in that sense, or is it? I mean, it must be quite stressful to make sure that all the elements are all in place. How does that work?
To answer your question, it is very hard to be autistic. It is so exhausting. And in my perception, it is because we spend all our time negotiating the neurotypical world. And the neurotypical world is not like our world. It is, we live in it, but we don't live relaxed. We live focused on fitting in and focused on doing things the way that the neurotypical people would consider acceptable. So in a way, all day is spent on doing things as well as possible, and that's the perfectionist element, in order to fit in and in order to be accepted and in order to be welcome. And of course, the high IQ element and the high sensitivity element make everything brighter and louder and more visible for us. So if there is a little tiny imperfection, we're going to see it really, really big and very loud. We are able to spot these things. But actually, if you think about it, this trait is very useful for an employer, because we are often feared as a ticking bomb, too intelligent, too sensitive, obviously plotting something to destroy us all. They can. Yes, we can, but we don't want to. We want to live. We want to be welcome. We want to belong. And that, for that, to belong and to be welcome, we are prepared to do anything. Ask any autistic person if they can explain it to you, what it is that they want most. They want to belong. They want to be not feared and not treated with kid gloves. Please, people, stop treating me with kid gloves. I don't want to be treated like that. I am perfectly normal. Autism is not a mental illness. It's a developmental disorder. I just see things in incredibly loud and bright colors, and everything is personal to me, because if I fail to fit in, then it is personal. Only on Sunday, last Sunday, that's 5 days ago, I was performing in the 3rd round of a speaker competition. And I didn't go to the 4th round. And to me, it was the end of the world. It meant that I failed. I felt so miserably. I probably made a terrible mistake. And I spent all this time, what was this mistake? And every second of the performance, and analyze it back and forth and this way and that way. What did I do wrong? And oh my God, obviously I'm the worst person in the world. I'm just sitting here crying and I'm rocking. And yes, if you see an autistic person rock, do not be afraid. This is when we are so overwhelmed that this motion and the sound that we make actually helps us to reset. It's like a computer or whatever it is that has been overwhelmed, it needs to reset. And for us to do this is just a way to make sense. It's a rhythm, it's a sound, it calms us down, and we reset and we're fine. So if you see an autistic meltdown, don't go to help. Sit it through. Let us do what we need to do. It just sounds terrifying and looks like, who is that person now? It's not the same person that we know. But we need that. Please allow us to do that.
Beatrice, thank you so much for sharing that, because one of the things that I wanted to do with this Neurodiversity Stories was, we do have an incredible following, incredible audience from across the globe, and people, with their own neurodiversity stories, and people who have, are neurodiverse. But the other element that I want to kind of reach is the people that aren't neurodiverse, or partners that live with someone that are neurodiverse or work colleagues, and for you to explain your journey, your story, and some of the things that you go through is incredibly informative, and personal, obviously, and I know it will really kind of help people to understand that. So I applaud you for sharing that. Thank you.
I think there are very many things that we on the autism spectrum can give. And often employers are afraid of us because they don't know what it's going to be to work with us. But actually, there is so much that you can gain from employing an autistic person. For example, we spot patterns very well. We can tell you what's coming because we're so sensitive, like we can spot it coming. And we are very comfortable with repetitive tasks, but of a very intelligent nature. We can do that with great pleasure because it makes sense. And our wish in life is that it finally makes sense. So doing any repetitive task for a very long time, and that's, for example, as an opera singer, to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. We do that very well. So if you are an employer, if you are thinking to take a risk and deploy the person or not, you're going to get a very, very loyal employee because we'll be so happy that finally someone appreciates this. You'll get someone who will help you recognize patterns of all kinds. You'll get someone who will help you notice the things that you normally don't, and someone who will want to do repetitive tasks much better with great commitment and beautiful focus. We're very focused. So it's worth it.
Bless you. Absolutely. Beatrice, I want to kind of lastly come on to, I can't believe where the time's gone. I can talk to you for hours and days. I know, saying that, I said I'd give you a quick call the other week, and I think we were on the phone for about an hour and 45 minutes. So it's just it. But I do like to talk as well. Beatrice, I want to come on to you've written a book, haven't you? What was the book called, and what was it about, if you don't mind sharing?
The book is called Introverts Make Better Networkers, and it's based on my experience. It's not just a provocative title, it's actually to tell everyone that we introverts, we are very focused and we follow up better. We listen in networking better, and that's the base of good networking, to listen to others, to follow up in the right way. To me, introverts in networking are actually the best people to meet because they're really committed and they know that they don't belong on the scene or think they don't belong on the scene, so they're trying extra hard. Introverts in networking, but the second part of the book says how anyone can succeed. So I will also address other personality types in the book, what it is that makes networking better. In my opinion, networking is better when we put the business part in it. It's business networking. It needs to be very clear, your objectives before you go to networking, then how you communicate what you've got to offer, and also what you want to get. You often forget that you need to ask in networking in order for it to work properly. And that's what my book is about. It's a short manual, very clear, in a very autistic way, very clear.
No, I absolutely love that. Beatrice, we're coming to the end of our discussion, and like I said, I could talk to you all day, but I cannot thank you enough for taking some time out of your day for this. If people are looking to connect with you, I'll put any kind of links and so on this, but if people are looking to connect with you, how would they do that?
Well, I'd like you to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's a connecting place, isn't it? So do connect with me there. I do have a website where you can hear me sing. People sometimes say, yes, Beatrice, but prove it. Well, you can hear me on my website. So this would be it. And I wanted to thank you so much. I met Darren through networking. Someone recommended to get in touch with him, and it has all worked beautifully. I'm so grateful to be here.
Bless you. And I also will share on this link as well the YouTube clip as well of you singing, and it's just incredible. And I would definitely say, don't ever think that you're when you say I'm big-headed or anything else like this, I shouldn't share. I'm sure in a couple of years' time I'll be speaking to you and you'll say, well, I've taken this up and now I'm doing this and now I'm doing this. And I think it's truly incredible, and it's a real gift to the world that you're given.
I am grateful for this opportunity to give something to people, to give the understanding of those on the autism spectrum. In a few years, you say, I'm thinking I would like to be the agony aunt for all things autistic, nationwide, internationally, because I understand it and because I really want to give back. Thank you.
Absolutely. Beatrice, thank you so much indeed again for your time. Some incredible, lovely comments that have come in. And I will have an incredible rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. And I will see you very, very soon. Take care, Beatrice. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks very much. Bye.
So guys, that was Beatrice. As you would have seen, what an absolutely incredible, inspirational lady she is. Truly heartwarming, the stories. And we only, again, touched on a fraction of stories that she could have possibly shared. I think if we could have turned this into a 2-3 hour show, she would have been able to share with you the stuff that she's doing in the community, but also on a global scale as well. So please do connect with Beatrice. She's an incredible lady. Thank you as always, guys, for supporting this channel and on the live chats that we do. It's really heartwarming to see your comments and people turning up every single week to watch these. If you would like to be a part of the Neurodiversity stories, then please do get in touch. I would love to hear your stories. And guys, we will be back next Friday at the same time of 11 o'clock. Take care, guys. Have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.